What's good, everybody? Hope everybody is well. Let's check out a quick video, and then we'll be right back.
I cuss in front of them.
Actually,
So look, I cuss
every one of them's
all right,
fine.
that's okay. I cuss
Every one of them's
all right,
fine.
that's okay.
No, my son's in jail. It's not okay.
I didn't say that. Maybe you should just let them know because they're all in tears.
Is there a man here with you? Okay, so I do. I cuss a lot. I cuss in front of them.
Actually,
So look, I cuss a lot.
every one of them's
all right,
fine.
that's okay.
No, my son's in jail. It's not okay.
Is there a man here with you?
No, I'm here.
Is not a man here with you?
But I'm here. What does that matter?
Because I'm
My
gonna
son
speak
is
to a
leaving.
man.
I don't care. It's my son.
Tell them
Oh,
that-
did you volunteer too? They all said
But I'll tell them that if they're not doing what they need to do, then yes, there's consequences to that.
Yeah.
If it takes that amount of time for when I tell a kid to do something and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, then there is consequences, like push-ups, like running laps,
Like telling them to get away from your drill.
like telling them to get out of my drill if they're not participating,
Get out of your
doing right,
drill.
get out of my drill,
I'm not even.
get the out of my drill, or whatever it takes to get my drill.
All right, so we're back. As you can see, this is a former football player, former football great, Marshawn Lynch. I don't know how old these videos are, so whenever I see him, I see him. I put up videos before, commented on videos like, "Oh, this is old." All right, well, listen, I didn't see it. It's new to me, so so it's new to me, and so let's talk about it here. Men have to be made. Men have to be made. Again, this is not strictly a man's channel. The last few videos I put out have been talking about that, but it's not strictly a man's channel. But men have to be made. Now, I coached for years. I coached for contact football and for flag football and a number of other sports, softball, baseball, boys and girls basketball, flag football, which was co-ed, and the contact football. Those are the sports that I coached. So those seasons went back to back, and I did that for years. I did it till my daughter turned 18. I think I talked about this before, but minus the swearing that Marshawn Lynch was doing, you're going to deal with that as a coach. But I don't think, and he kept saying he wanted to talk to a man, because I think that he would articulate that men have a better understanding about what it takes to make a man. Men are not made overnight in a factory. They're just not made that way. Men are made through a crucible, through fire, through perseverance, through training, through correction, through hard times. When I was in the church, we used to call it, a press, or olive oil makes the press. And to get olive oil, you need to put olives in a press and need to be crushed. In other words, however you want to say it, they need to go through something. Basic training in the military, or whatever the acronym is now. I don't think they call it basic training anymore, depending on what branch you're in. Fire academies, police academies, correctional academies, right? Some type of something that shows you have some grit to you. And that's going to be the same thing in football camps in particular. I'm sure that hockey camps are probably the same way. You got to get hit and all this. And you have to correct these young boys along the way. And they're going to cry and they're going to be upset. And part of that, and they didn't understand this, is when I'm going through a play. Now, if a kid was late, here's the way I did mine. If the kid was late, I used to make him do laps. I used to make him do laps or push-ups. The kid was late. Oh, my mother, and it would be like, my mother, she didn't bring me. Like, listen, you're late. You got to talk to your mother about getting you here on time, because coach will make you do it. Do push-ups. And a couple times, like, the parents were like, "Oh, listen, I had something going on. I understand. Have Johnny hit the trail." Well, listen, I understand. I hear you loud and clear. I understand the words that are coming out of your mouth. Have them hit the trails. Because you're wasting my time. You're wasting other players' times. And you need to understand that. This kid, I wasn't coaching future professional athletes. I recognize that. But they're gonna be students in classes. They already are. They're gonna go and join the workforce. And they need to respect other people's times. And indirectly, you as the parent need to respect other people's time. Now, we used to have practice, and I was very mindful of this, right? I used to tell people, what time practice was, and I try to make it, 6:30 or 7, something like that, 7 to 9, 7 to 8:30. I used to try to choose later times because I know sometimes parents got to get out of work. They got the kids, they got to feed, they got to pick them up from the babysitters, they got to do all this stuff, right? So I try to make it. And you still getting there? I'm making all these concessions. You don't think I want to be home at 7 o'clock at night? Or I would work the midnight shift a lot of times. So if I'm coaching from 7 to 8:30, 8:39, by the time I get my kids home, drop kids off, whatever, sometimes get them home and feed them. Now I can't take a nap before work. But I sacrifice my time, and you can't sacrifice yours. So that's one thing. If the kid was late, if one kid was late, or a single kid was late, that's how I handle that. The other part is, if we did a play, right? Here's the play, okay? Here's the play. Here's where you need to be. Here's what you need to do. And they mess it up. I mean, we went over it. It's next week, particularly. If it was like a week later, like we did this last week. Why are you forgetting? All right, everybody's got to do push-ups because I wanted them to take stock in their team, to learn leadership skills, to say, listen, Johnny, get in your place, stand over there. You're too far up. I wanted them to talk to each other and correct each other. Very rarely, the size of the team, right? We didn't get, I was coaching for the police activity league, so we didn't have assistant. A lot of times we didn't have assistant coaches. So you guys are, someone's got to show some initiative here. You got to help your teammates get in the right place, in the right space. So boys have to be made. Now, let me say, I don't agree with the swearing thing. I think that you can get your point across in a more professional manner. I try not to swear. Just my own personal ethic. I'm not relating this on other people. So I can get with the student. I think to a little degree that the parents will be a little bit hypersensitive. I mean. If you don't like your kid being sworn at, right? He's over here crying and whatever. He's got to toughen up. You got to toughen up because the world doesn't care, and this is the problem that I think a lot of us are having, is that we're raising these boys, and they don't understand what it is to be punched in the face, to be hit in the mouth, to be made to be tough, and then you grow up, and then the latest complaint is a lack of leadership in these boys. They're not men, right? They don't know how to do things, right? You want them to be crying and to be sensitive and stuff. The very type of man that ladies are attracted to, are the very type of men who've been through some type of mental toughness. Whether you grew up in the street hood and didn't play a sport in your life, but you grew up in the hood and you had to fight every day, or you were a football player, going through some challenges, you went through some type of militarized academy training. That's what causes the mental toughness. So men have to be made. And I don't think that the ladies a lot of times understand that. And again, the ladies in the video were complaining, right? And that's why Marshawn wanted to talk to the men. I want to talk to a man because they understand exactly my point, and I understand it. I understand it. Not only from a coach's angle, but from a male perspective. You got to make them tough. You don't think that one day the boss is gonna come in there and start chewing them out, and he might even swear, particularly if he's on a construction site or something like that, right? We have made the world so soft. We've made the world so soft. And that would be great, right? If we all had, nice, soft jobs and every man was soft, but women aren't selecting those type of men. They might want a corporate executive, but that corporate executive is really cutthroat. A corporate executive, right? And even he had to learn some type of training, and somebody had to get in his face and yell at him and put his finger in his face, telling him to man up. One of the greatest scenes to me in television history is the scene from The Godfather, the first Godfather, when they're at the wedding. The first few minutes of the film, and this guy comes in there and comes to the Godfather and starts telling him what's going on. Starts sniveling. Godfather's looking at him. Stands up and tells him, well, you can act like I don't know what I can do. I don't know what I should do. Tells him, you should act like a man, and then slaps him and shakes him. I don't know if he shakes him and slaps him, or slaps him and shakes him. I don't know.
What to do? I don't know what to do. You can act like a man! What's the matter with you? Is this how you turn out a Hollywood Pinocchio that cries like a woman? What can I do? What can I do? What is that nonsense?
Somebody's gonna tell you. Come in here sniveling and crying. You got problems. You got problems. You got issues. Sniveling and crying. And I'm not saying you shouldn't show some emotion or let it out amongst friends. I'm not saying that. I definitely agree that men have bottled up way too much stuff in their lives and causing them to self-delete or take other methods to relieve stress, be it painkillers, alcohol, etc. You should let it out. I'm definitely advocating for you letting go and let it out. But at the same time, when you're in the thick of things, you need a leader. I couldn't, as a police department, right? I'm sergeant in the military, right? I'm a sergeant in the police department. Or in the military, you insert yourself, right? There's emergency going on, right? Big, crane is doing whatever on a construction site. You don't need somebody panicking, sniveling and crying, because things get a little tough and they start swearing and stuff. You can't have that in the military, right? When you're in the middle of a firefight, Sarge, the enemy is swearing at me, or my coworkers swearing at me because Private Jim is swearing at me, and he's talking to me mean and rough, and I want to see HR. So I get it, man. I really wish that ladies would understand this. That these boys have to be made into men. And you have to unless he's physically hurting them, slapping them, hurting them, butt out. Let them do what they got to do. They'll get over it. They'll be okay. They will not be emotionally damaged because by what's going on here. It's a temporary thing, and don't let them quit. I had one lady. She took her kids out to practice, right? Because she was sick of it. She was like, I don't want my kids. This kid messed up. Why are you making them all do it? Because he's on a team. Because they need to hold each other accountable. All right, let's go. She took her kids and left. She called me the next day. I don't really appreciate it. I really want the kids to play, but I'm not changing my style. I'm not changing my style. I want accountability. I want them to become men. These aren't young kids, 7 and 8-year-olds. These are teenagers. It was teenagers, 13, 14, 15. I don't remember the exact age. No. I'm not changing my style. And I reminded her. You guys selected me as a coach because what happened was the first day of basketball, when we put all the kids in the gym, and they, we see who runs the fastest and who has the most athletic ability, and right. So we try to divide them up so each team had a good athlete, a fast kid. So we try to make the teams really, really good. So that way, one really, really even, I should say, even or balanced. That way, one team wouldn't dominate the other teams. Right, everybody had an equal fighting chance. So before that, I was kind of like the drill instructor, right? So I made, okay, let's see who can do some push-ups. Everybody get down, everybody stand up, everybody, let's do some jump jacks, see who gets tired first. You see all that kind of stuff, right? So you can do sit-ups, push-ups, sprint here, sprint there. And all the parents are like, oh, listen, we want the kids to play for you, Because I showed the leadership, because I showed initiative, because I showed control of the kids, this gym full of kids, that's what they saw that, and they said, like, I want the kids to play for you. Most of them single mothers, most of them. So I had to remind her, listen, you guys, I had to be made. I had to learn, I had to be made, I had to fail, I had to mess up, the person that you see here today is the result of years of training, getting it wrong, failing, being yelled at, being embarrassed, being all these different things. And if you want that, if you're selecting for that, for a mate, for a coach, for your speaker, for whatever, your boss, people, they look at the end product and say, oh man, this guy's got it together. They see a guy in a suit and they think he's all together. That man had to be made. That man had to be embarrassed. He had to fail tests. He had to fall down. His friends turned his back on him. He'd be laughed at. He probably had bad teeth. They had to get him fixed. And, he worked bifocals, and now he's got contact. You don't know what this guy, you don't know what's going on. But that man had to be made. And you have to make these men. These men, the men that you see, have every single man on this planet who is a man that women are selecting for, that are moving up the ranks, who are head coaches, who are mayors and governors and all that. And the high movers and shakers within society, politically, business world, economically, and all that. They're cutthroats. And they had to be made. And you're not going to make these, taking them out and I'm going to go and talk to the coach. What world? This dude's an NFL player. You gonna tell this man who has reached the height of the pinnacle, won 2 championships or 1 or 2 championships, what it takes? I don't like the way you're talking. What are we talking about? They know. He was asking for a man because they know that no man would have challenged him. Marshawn Lynch knows that no man would have challenged him. They'd have been like, honey, he's doing okay. It's all good. No, sit down. No, it's all good. How are you going to tell the man who would play in the NFL, the league that hopefully your kids are trying to get to, what it takes to get there? They just don't understand. It's ladies, when you turn 14, I remember my daughter, she's like 12, starting to develop and stuff. She's starting to walk. She was in a softball uniform. She was playing softball, and I take her to the store. It was after softball, and taking her to the store, and so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get this, you're gonna get that, and I'll meet you. So I see this guy like following her around. I mean, the guy was older than me at the time, following her around the store. So I'm following my daughter, just to see, is this guy gonna try to talk to this girl who's in a uniform? Is this guy gonna try to talk to her? So I'm following him, following her. So he's looking her up and down and stuff, and finally he just kind of. So then she stops and she turns and she sees me behind the guy. She's like, oh, hey, Dad, this, that, and the other. So he turns around and he keeps walking. He never said anything to her. But what I'm saying that because ladies are inherently valuable as far as beauty. It's your beauty and your youth that makes you inherently valuable. Beauty, youth, and all that. So that's she didn't have to be. He wasn't following because we're in a softball uniform. She didn't have to be a star of this, that, and the other, or the head of a company, or in law school. Just walking around the mall, just a beautiful woman, and that's all that it takes. But the boy, my son, has to do something. Has to be something. You got to make something of yourself as a man. Marshawn Lynch is trying to turn these boys into men, and you have to handle tough talk, and you have to handle discipline, and be able to respond correctly. So that's what I have to say. Listen, man, we have an epidemic of boys who don't know what it takes to be boys, of ladies who unfortunately are encouraging it, and then they don't want. Kevin Samuel said this. Of all the things that Kevin Samuel said, man, I really think that hit me the hardest when he said that these ladies are raising the very men that nobody wants. I was a grown man when I heard this, but I think truer words can never be spoken. I don't think that people realize how strong that statement is. You're raising the very men that nobody wants. I talked about this, and I'm not sure if I did a video on it, but I have a clip. I don't remember if I made a video about this. I can't remember. I have two other channels, so it's hard for me to keep straight, what I talked about. But I think I did a clip. I have to look through my stuff. I think I did a clip about a woman a screenshot about a woman who said that she didn't like. Oh no, I didn't do this. So I have a clip, and I'll put it up here right now, about a woman who says why she, her mentors were different from the men that she dated and what she liked. I cannot remember if I put this up here or not. Anyway, and she talked about, the differences in bed. This is why I'm so harsh and so wanting men to be a complete package of having swag and having education. I don't think that just because you're smart, you need to be dumb, worldly, or whatever. No swag. And you have to develop both. I think you have to develop both because, as the late Kevin said, you're raising the very men that nobody wants. I can raise you to be this doctor and you keep them out of trouble and this, but if nobody wants that, as far as a mate, or if they do get married, they're run over, they are dominated. If you want a leader, protector, provider, and emphasis on leader, somebody who's smarter than you, taller than you, all the ladies generally want somebody who's more than them, smarter than them, taller than them, more driven, more successful, more accomplished, making more money. That man has to be made. And if you're doing all this and you don't respect that man and you're stinking behind his back, and the other guy who you watching is just as you're watching guys who are tough. Listen, man, you got. I hope that ladies understand that. It's not a lady bashing session. I'm just trying to get you to understand that you have to make the man that you want. You, as a single mother, have to make that man, and you have to allow him to be made by other men. A guy who's in the NFL. Imagine the thought process of a guy who's in the NFL trying to tell him how to coach your kids about how to play football. Imagine going to a concert Pierto, right? Or you've got a world famous conductor who's conducted Harlem Symphony and New York Symphony and whatever, Chicago Symphony, whatever, I don't even know what symphonies there are. The best of the best in the music world as far as conductors. And he's taking the time out of his retirement to coach your kid about how to play the piano or the bass or the, what's the other one? Not the violin, the big one. Yeah, the cello. Right? All this type of stuff, right? He's trying to give you lessons. You know, hey, listen, I don't like how you talk to my kid, and you know, he's fingering and what? How many concerts have you played in? How many NFL games you played in? I know people are say, oh, it's not that, it's the swearing. Okay, this is a tough world. Concert pianists are definitely a different world than an NFL. But if you're going to play in the so quote unquote more masculine arenas, man's arenas, that's the military, the police, the fire department, the corrections. If you're going to play in the world of deep sea ocean fishing and welding and construction work and logging and lumberjacks and all these masculine, you know, tree forestry and all this type of stuff. I watched a video the other day about I don't know how true it is, but this changing a light bulb at the top of some high tower, right? Maybe a mile or so in the sky. You got to climb up it and all this kind of stuff, right? You know what kind of nerves and of steel you have to do that? It takes 4 hours to climb up, right? You got to hook yourself on 4 hours to climb up this thing, and even longer to climb back down. You got to climb up this thing. You got to remember you got the light bulb, right? No sense of climbing up 4 hours like, oh, I forgot the light bulb and got to do it all over again, right? Change the light bulb. You're stealing yourself, and you got to climb back, and you got to hook yourself off, and you climb back. It takes even longer to do all that to get back down. That guy's got to have nerves of steel. Men have to be made. Men have to be made. A woman can just grow up, walk out the side the door, and people be in her DMs trying to holler at her as she's walking through a mall, as she's walking through a park, as she's walking through, you know, wherever they walk through now. I don't even know, you know, a fair, a festival. Just with your kids, with your friends, you're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. You know, people want to talk to you. Can I get your number? Can I get your Instagram? Can I get your DMs? Can I slide in your DM? Nobody's doing that. They're not doing that to the, I mean, unless you're a school teacher, maybe. Maybe you're doing that to little boys now, but listen, man. You gotta let these boys be made. You gotta let them be made. That's it. I'm gonna keep it nice and, well, it's almost half an hour now. But let me know your thoughts, your opinions, right? Am I wrong about this and all that? So I'm going to make myself. Oh man, I forgot my freaking. Oh, I forgot my other hat. Oh crap. All right. Going for my walk. Much love and peace.